We are the Worldwide Community Empowerment Group, where we speak live into the community. You can log on to WCEGTalkradio.com, watch us live on your smart TV, cable channel, YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, and now on Fanbase, Blue Sky, and Twitch. Search for WCEG and subscribe on all social media platforms. I'm Ernestine D. Pittman, host of the show for the next hour. You can also download our free WCEG mobile apps. Say, Alexia, play WCEG Talk Radio. And just like that, we're on. Listen to WCEG on any of our 12 podcast distribution platforms. Last but not least, the topics and opinions of those of the show hosts and guests are not WCEG Media Enterprise. So let's get started for today. Take a stand. Hope you had a great week and looking forward to an even better week. I am here by the grace of God, looking good and feeling good, and still on the job. And I hope those of you out there who are listening will also pay attention to your surroundings. And I mean, what is in the air for you? How is your life being impacted by what is going on by others, and what can you do? And the answer to what we're going to talk about today on Take a Stand is the October 18th King's Day protest. We don't have a king in the United States, but we have a president who is acting as if he is a king, and a Republican Congress in the supporting roles of being jesters and minions without a thought or care to what is going happening to all of us out here in America who, unfortunately, are not millionaires and billionaires. We are common, everyday people, the bedrock of this country. Without us, there would be no America. There would be nothing here for millionaires and billionaires to be fighting over. We, the people, are still in control. What is so significant about this No King's Day protest? And what will my protesting do, you might ask? Your protesting has accomplished every meaningful piece of legislation in this country and has kept us on base with inclusion. We're still working on equality and inclusion, but we have our foot past the doornail. When I said the doornail, that's the nail you put in the door to hold it open while you try to get other things in. Well, we're past that, and we are not going back. And that has to be your emphasis. You cannot go back. America was created on protest. The Boston Tea Party, where the American patriots decided we are not going to pay a tax without representation. No representation, no taxation. With that cry, the Revolutionary War began, and America became its own sovereign nation with a constitution. And this constitution says we have the right to protest. We have a right to petition those whom we vote for to address our needs and our concerns. And that is their job, not to go out and make all these foreign club acquaintances away from the United States as well as in the United States, but to take care of the people here at home. The preamble to the United States Constitution reads, we the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, and secure the blessings, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity. Do ordain and establish the Constitution for the United States of America. That means this Constitution was not just written for those who lived back there in 1776. It says our posterity, our children, our grandchildren, our great grandchildren, our great, 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 all into perpetuity. We are to fight for those rights that others have died for, lost their jobs for, lost their homes for, had to leave sometimes the state in which they lived, were beaten, so that we could be where we are today. If you were a minority, you are still a minority. The fight is not over. And who are we fighting? We are fighting the United States convicted president, Donald Trump, and his minions, and the senators and the representatives, Republicans, in the House and Senate of the United States. That is who we're focused on. We have to show, and we hope to show them that the people, we the people of this country, do not approve of what they are doing in Congress, nor do we approve of what they are doing in the White House with President Trump and all his many advisors. We are protesting because not only is it enshrined in our Constitution, in the First Amendment, and read that one to you too. You got to stay on court, because if you know me, I have to have my documentation. I'm not out here to mislead and be led by a fool or a demon. So, here is the First Amendment. Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press, or the right of the people peaceably to assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. It is my right to protest, and I will protest. And you out there listening and not listening, you are a resident in this country. You are a citizen, whether you're a citizen or not. All our laws apply to you, plus some. But those laws that are basic for the welfare, the health, and all of our families, our jobs, our homes, we are responsible for making sure they're not taken away from us. All social change in America began with protesting. When the Pilgrims came over and the Puritans, men who owned property were the only ones who were allowed to vote. Women were not allowed to vote. So, what do women do? Late, we protested. And consequently, we earned the right to vote by protesting. We also, social change, the 40-hour work week. That came about protesting. People in the street were beaten. Union makers, that's what they were called, another name I won't say, would go out there and protest the labor laws of children as young as 6, 8, 10, working all these ridiculous hours. Well, there are some Republicans in this country who have said we have a labor shortage. We getting rid of all the migrants and immigrant workers, so we don't have enough people to come out there to work. We're going to reduce the age of students so that they can go to work. This is what people fought for and died for over 100 years ago. Children labor laws. We don't work our children. We try to educate them so that they will have the best life possible. How can a child go to work, wake up, what do we want to do? Homework, go to school, sleep in class, then go to work? You can't educate a child who's not there in mind. Presence in body does not mean that you're present in mind. So we owe it to our children to make sure that the labor laws in this country, and one state has already started lowering the age. We cannot allow that nationwide. We cannot allow that. It is up to us to protect that which has been so wrongfully wrong. And now we want to make it right. We can't allow it. People died, not because they were stealing or killing. They died because they said, I am a human being deserving of life. Not because the Constitution says so, but because the Constitution says it is important enough. The most important thing in that Constitution is to promote the general welfare of the people of this country. Otherwise, how we are going to defend it? How are we going to defend ourselves? How are we going to grow as a country? Our laws must be implemented and they must be followed. No one, included convicted President Trump, is above the law. Social change in America began with protesting. We ended the end of child labor laws. We as the establishment of labor unions. One of the biggest things that has ever and most important thing that ever happened to America was the establishment of unions. Not only did they end labor laws, but they set up regulations that required things be in place so the employees would not be hurt and killed on the job. That those regulations are now being rolled back by convicted President Trump and his minions in Congress. They are not fighting. There's only one party out there fighting for the American people, and that's the Democratic Party. And you don't have to be a Democrat, card carrying Democrat, if you support what they are doing for you. Volunteer, make donations as possible, but get out there and protest because they are the ones that are leading it. Them and people who believe in our democracy and our Constitution. We have to do something more than gossip on the phone and talk about how poor things have gotten, how bad they have gotten. But what are you going to do about it? Talk is cheap. Put boots on the ground and feet in the streets. That is what we're going to have to do. All right. The establishment of public schools. Schools just didn't crop up around this country overnight. They were not supported just because there were children in the area. And what kind of education were they going to get without a building? And without a building, who's going to make sure that one was got inside? We have laws for that. Then we come up with laws that says segregation is not equal. It is unequal. We got rid of that. Are we supposed to? So we build schools. Schools are built to educate children regardless of whom their parents may be, where they come from, and where they live. Education is for all in this country. But that's not what the Republicans in Congress are saying now. That convicted President Trump says, oh no, we're getting rid of a Department of Education. No, 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 no. The more information they get, those meaning non-millionaires and billionaires, the more education they get, the more they want, the more they challenge us. The harder it is for us to maintain our way of life, a taxation on them with nothing to reward them with, or help their lives become better. Republicans believe in big business and small government. They have been trying ever since they've been in office to roll back or to repeal any and all social laws for the betterment, the health, and welfare of this country, as described in our preamble, ever since they were initiated. They fought President Franklin Delano Roosevelt. They didn't want Social Security. Why should money be taken out and I have to match funds for folks just because they're working? Well, just because they're working, if something should happen to them, they need to have some kind of security. No, workers should not be slaves. And I'm not a slave. The Lord did not allow me to be born in slavery. So I'm not letting anybody ride my back, and I'm not calling anybody master except Lord Jesus Christ. That is just it. That is just it. And I am not going back. My high school graduation class was the last class that graduated under franchise segregation and the non-civil rights bill. I went to segregated school, lived in the same house for 8 years, and went to 2 different schools. I went to 4 different schools every 2 years. Gerrymander. We don't do that now. Are we about to start doing that with our districts that will end up saying, we don't know what we're going to end up with? But back to education. If you want to keep a man ignorant, don't let him learn. Don't let him read. Don't let him socialize with others. Keep him only with those who are uneducated. Keep the person misinformed and down. That's a cult. That is not what God meant for us to be. And that is not what the Constitution and even quote our founding fathers, even though they did not count me as a full human, meant it for to be. But things changed. And the protest that changed, that was the Civil War. After the Civil War, I was 100% a person until Jim Crow laws grew up in the South that said otherwise. Then we had to change that, protesting. On come the civil rights movement. If you weren't living then, that's we're the last generation of the high school graduates for that, 1964. We lived it. So those of us who lived it, you see this silver on this blouse. You may not see it, but you see the silver in this hair. I deliberately wore a silver and black wig. Silver for wisdom. Silver for knowledge. Silver for having lived through it and know it. And the black, the youthfulness of having lived in a country where changes can take place so fast, you're not aware of it until you wake up and there it is. That's the strength. With the strength of our youthfulness, and that could be any age, under 79, all the way back, and you have plenty more people that are baby boomers. It is up to you. We fought. Now you have to fight. You have it better than we ever had it, but not on paper anymore. Because now, after the fight, voters' rights are on the line. The president says, I want to be president for life until I die. And he just said yesterday, that was nothing he was going to do to get him into heaven. He's not trying to get into heaven. This is his heaven. But I'm not one of his angels. I'm not one of his demons. And you shouldn't be either. in America, we take the vote seriously because we, the people, are responsible for who sits in these seats in our government. That's why we say elections have consequences. Whether you wanted Trump or not, if you stayed home, he's there. If you went to the polls and voted for him, he's there. If you went to the polls and did not vote for him, he is still there. Now, once he is there, and that goes for the congressmen and the House and the Senate, the state legislation, and your local governments. Once we have elected our representatives, they represent us. We have to let them know through our actions whether or not we approve or disapprove of what they are doing. That is what we want to know. That is what we're trying to get done here. On October the 18th, we want to send a message to convicted President Trump and his minions in D.C., those in his cabinet, his advisors, and we want to especially make sure that those senators in the red states and those House members in the red states and a few in the blue states understand you were voted to represent the people. You were not voted to go in there and take our health care. No, you were not voted in to shut down the government on the lie that it's the Democrats doing it. Because if you really wanted the House, the Congress to be open, you would invoke the 51 member filibuster. Take out this discussion about health care. But then you have to vote on Epstein files. And you're not ready to do that. Why? I'm not going to be distracted because you want to deflect to something that it is important, but healthcare is more important. Healthcare is more important. My health insurance is going up. My pension is not going up. Job salaries and raises are not going up. Nothing is increasing with the prices that are going up for working families because of your tariffs, because of your defunding social programs that help to provide food, clothing, and shelter for the people in this country. Everybody in this country deserves shelter, deserves food, deserves clothing, deserves health care. Regardless of what their situation is, they are deserving of it. And we need to fight for it. And we don't need to have a president who does not care about us, laughing, joking. I want the peace prize. You want a peace prize for allowing Israel to go over there and decimate Gaza. And then you want to say, okay, now we're going to have peace. You let that go on for over a month, making sure Israel was successful in destroying that country. And now you said peace. Well, what does that say for them to destroy? No, you are undeserving of a peace prize, just like Ukraine. Those Ukraine people been fighting for 2 years. What are we doing over here in the United States? We're not dodging drones, bullets. We are not having our homes blown up with us in it and around us. But it could happen. It could happen. What is happening here? We are complacent when we hear of the National Guard going into D.C., where D.C. is a federal city by statute. So that's the difference. But what about going to Chicago? The governor did not ask for them. There was no emergency. There was no rioting in the street. There was no emergency for the National Guard to go in there. That is what the governors and the people of that state have laws and all of why and when to bring them in. Once you get used to seeing something, it becomes commonplace. You don't think when you see National Guard drives up or ride up into a city that you are losing a right. You are losing a right. That is the right to assemble peaceably without being disturbed, without being intimidated, without being harassment by those representing your government. That's a loss of freedom. Not only is it a loss of freedom, those people who are in National Guards, they are our neighbors in that state. They have other jobs and they have families. Their lives are being changed unless you go and get a group of Klansmen, white supremacists, and call them National Guardsmen, ICE raiders. No. And do you know it costs more money to have these guardsmen in these cities every day than it would cost to fund some of the programs that convicted President Trump has to fund it in order to pay them. Yesterday, it was stated that the president, in order to pay for the salaries of the armed forces, our active armed force duty soldiers, that they were going to have to defund. What was that again? They were going to have to defund children and special education in schools. Did you hear what I said? Defund, not pay for special education of children in our schools. These children did not ask to be born. In fact, they are the Republicans are so high up on having children to come into this world in any condition of what have you. You don't do anything about it. They get here. Now they are here. Should they be given every opportunity for the best of everything that can possibly be done to help them make a life for themselves? But if you go and defund special education in schools, parents can barely afford to send children clothes, money for food, since they have started cutting back on lunches in schools and talking about further cuts with SNAP. And now you expect a child, quote, who is special education, not to have the teacher there, not to be there to help them. How many parents will have to lose their jobs? Because if the child is not in school, that child has to be somewhere and someone has to take care of that child. We could do better, America. We have done better. We should be going up, not down. We should not be going back. We should be moving forward. There was money there for special children and special education. Do you know how much money it takes to fly this convicted President Trump from D.C. to Florida and all his entourage every time he wants to go on the weekend and elsewhere? Do you have any idea how much money we are spending every day for all this foolishness that he wants, but not the life-saving needs that the people in this country deserve and want? We have to let him know. He can't say, well, I don't know. Nobody told me. And it's a beautiful lie. Are you out of your mind with him? No. We need to stand up to these Republicans because they are the ones who are holding this country down trying to grind their heel in our faces, our Constitution, and our democracy in the ground. Oh, they have the money. They can run ads day and night. But it's Democrats who are in court fighting. There are lawyers that have to be paid. Where is the money coming from? You said you want this and you want that. It's not free, baby. Freedom is not free. That's why people die fighting for it. You have to preserve it. And if all you're asked to do is to participate in protest or contact your neighbors, your friends, hold up a sign in your yard, pop up anytime. I think you're coming off cheap, myself. You didn't lose your job. You didn't lose your home. You haven't had to leave the state. All you have to do is to wake up, volunteer, and donate. Give her your time or your money. If anything is important to you, it costs to live. I am no cheap thrill. I am high maintenance. And I expect my government to provide to the highest level those things for which they collect our tax dollars. Our tax dollars. We have 3 council members who work for CDC, laid off. Why is that important? Number one, without CDC, who's out there doing the research for all our medical ills and all that comes up? When a virus comes up, where do we go? And measles. These are all our problems. Because if you have a daughter or a niece, a grandchild, a wife, and she has not been vaccinated and is around a child or another adult who has not and getting measles, that is going to affect that fetus, that baby, and that mother. I don't care to be around anybody who has not been vaccinated for measles, shingles. You better get that too. Now, you're the one that's going to pay the price. That's a vaccination. And anybody in their right mind, Father RFK, they're as high as he is, and as foolish as he is. All these years you've been living with children having to have regulations in school about what vaccinations they had to take in order to come to public school, and measles is all but eradicated. Now it's coming back, and you sitting up saying, well, he said, the president said that in the White House they had this man, they don't even have to call his name, and he said, don't vaccinate. A fool follow the fool is a damn fool. And you need to straighten your act up. You need to get up off of your behind and go out and stand for something. If you can't do anything but get to your door, someone can open it for you. Stand in your yard, sit in a chair in your yard, get your neighbor lined up and down the street, or go to a rally, protest rally that's in your area. But you can do one you can do hold a sign anywhere, anytime. Pop up. Help us get out this information. Not all of us are listening, but all of us are going to pay. When your home is invaded, that's when any person comes in from this mob squad that will soon, what the National Guards will soon become under Trump. You look suspicious. You don't look like you with the program. Your neighbor said that you did this, you did that. Now you have your neighbor spying on you, trying to gain favor. That is what they do in these countries where you have dictators. And why are we giving Venezuela $20 billion and we can't feed our own children lunch? Where did this money come from? It didn't come from the billionaires and the millionaires. They find all kind of loopholes not to pay taxes. Not to pay taxes. So that's our money. And this man is making money hands over fist in the White House by doing everything he can, using our own laws against us. Blackmailing schools into not, if you're going to receive a federal fund, you can't do this, you can't do that. You can't have anything that deals with race. And you know as well as I do, minorities don't stand a chance without some kind of laws in place saying that they have to be protected when their information comes in. There needs to be laws. If you have 20 applicants, you just have so many of it that you can take. If there were 20 applicants and two of them had highest ratings or whatever by a minority, you have to accept that. No, 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 no. Here comes someone now less prepared. Let's call it like it is. It's race. It's sexism. Nobody in this country should be discriminated against, especially minorities by race, gender, religion, education, whatever. Gonna go out there and pick on LGBT. What are they doing to you? Nothing. That you can't stop them from happening. Nobody said they can't be as foolish as you, or even more foolish. But that is no reason to go around discriminating, saying they can't have a gun. You gun loving told shooting Republicans. Now transgender, you don't want he or she to have a gun. They're not doing the serial killing. They're not the ones that are shooting up these schools. We have laws on the books. But when something comes up, you make every effort through your misinformation to point towards a minority in a negative sense. A negative sense. We protested this country. Protest ended, helped to bring the Vietnam War to an end. Protested out there in the street, helped us to get healthcare facilities and policies. What is going to happen to nursing homes? You may sit up all well and out in your house and home now, but because you're up there now does not mean you will be struck down tomorrow or next month. These are real people in these nursing facilities. Most of them are there because they don't have any other place to go. But they're there because of federal subsidies. Do you think the state is going to pick up the shortage left by the defunding by the federal government? Think again. Think again. That is not going to happen. That is not going to happen. I don't mean to come off preaching because I'm not talking to a church audience. You're not children. We are all adults. And those of us who are not adults, we need to be teaching our children about who they are and whose they are. And you need to know who you are and whose you are. I cannot in good conscience say that I know whose I am. My Father in heaven could no way own me if I stood by and saw children hungry, people homeless, sick, no place to go, living in all kinds of squalor, and have the laws that are now on the books weakened in order to save the rich man more money. These buildings, these homes that are being built, the regulations for the materials and all in them, they are being weakened. Are you willing to go into a building where regulations have not been kept up and adhered to? I know I would, but you don't know when that building was built when you go to a new city or place, even homes. EPA, the water we drink. We have forever chemicals that are killing us in our brain because they're settling there from the water we drink and the food we eat. And they are still trying to weaken those. And no, not still trying, they have already begun to weaken those. Wake up, America. It's not 1984 or 1884. We won't get to 2024 unless we wake up. We don't need anybody to tell us of the horrors of what happens in a country when you have a dictator, when you have an authoritarian person who thinks he's God and mentally incapacitated himself, running around calling things beautiful, that big, beautiful bill. How can you call a health care bill beautiful when you have defunded it to the point where in Georgia last week, 2 weeks ago, St. Mary's Catholic Hospital had to shut down their delivery section? Why? A lack of doctors. We are losing doctors. They are afraid, meaning women's health is more precarious now than it ever has been. Nobody wants to touch a pregnant woman because you don't know what the state is going to come down on you with here in Georgia. We can't live like this. We can't live like this, and we should not have to live like this. America, you can do better. East Point residents and those in South Fulton County and elsewhere close by, you can do better too. On this Saturday, all of you should be at some protest rally, even if it's 6 of you standing on the corner. When you go to the store, get out your car, you see somebody standing there, take out a sign and say, look, let's stand here for this. Strike up a conversation. If you're too afraid to do that now, you have no idea what's coming down the pipe. You better fight to keep what you have and making it better and not giving it away. Social programs, common welfare, and defense. What made our convicted President Trump think that we owe him an Air Force Presidential One airplane just like the one our president would have? Can you imagine what that fool would be doing? We don't do that. But that is what is going on, and we need to let the Congress know, no, you do not refit that plane for him to take with him when he's out of office. Absolutely not. That is unheard of. Here he is riding around in the same plane that the President of the United States is. I mean, what is wrong with us in this country? How bad does things need to get before we wake up? I am afraid of violence. All you have to do is think about hitting me, and I'm long gone. So, what do we do before it gets to that? Because it will come to that. It will come to that. We have had one civil war. We will have another. Only this war that we're having now, the president, convicted President Trump and his minions, are waging a war against the American people by rolling back all those social programs that are needed. Food, shelter, housing, health care. We all need that. but we all can't afford that. Jobs do not pay enough in wages and salaries for all of us to afford that, even if you're working two jobs. It is not right. It is not lawful. Why are we allowing the Republicans in Congress and the convicted President Trump and his minions to take away that which they did not give us in the first place, and what cost so dearly in order for us to get it by those who came before us? I am encouraging you to get out to vote in the upcoming local elections on Tuesday, November the 4th of this year. You need to know whom you're voting for, because elections have consequences. Early voting starts today, October the 14th through October the 31st. You can go and vote early, or you can wait until Tuesday, November the 4th. But why wait? You have no reasons not to vote. And after November the 4th, and the election polls are closed and all, and somebody that you don't know or didn't like got elected, that's on you. That is on you. And I'm so sick of hearing folks say, well, folks to vote for Trump got what they got what they voted for. I didn't vote for Trump. Over half of the people in this country did not vote for Trump. More folks did not vote for Trump in this country than those who did. It just so happened that he ended up president. I'm going to ask you before we leave today, please check your polling location and voter status. You can log on to www.mvp.sos.ga.gov. You can log on to that to find out. So before you do anything else, find out your voter status. Know who you're going to vote for before you go to vote. Become an informed voter. Become an informed voter. But by all means, go and vote, because those of you who stay home, you are voting. But you're not voting for the best person for the job, for the information that's been put out there. If you have a problem knowing who to vote for, and before you go to the poll, there are sample ballots. You get a sample ballot. They're available. Get one. Fill it out before you leave. Talk to other people about who they have learned information about if you don't know. Someone that you trust. But become informed about the issues. You know whether or not certain things are going right or wrong. Get out there and vote on November the 4th. That's the last day. But early voting begins today and ends October 31st, Halloween, and that's no joke. And don't you be the trick, you better be the treat. Know who you are going to vote for before you leave. If possible, look at a sample ballot. And if there are referendum items on your vote, on your ballot, you need to do your research and understand what they are about. They could be taking anything from you or trying to put anything over on you that you have no idea about. Read those referendums that's on your ballot. Have someone to explain them to you if you need to. They also appear on the sample ballot. The sample ballot will contain everything that your actual ballot will contain on the day you go to vote. So, go vote early, October the 14th through October the 31st. Tuesday, November the 4th is the last day to vote. Read the referendums, Fill out your ballot vote, the sample ballot before you go, or write the names down on paper. But surely you can call someone up if you don't have access to a computer or what have you and say a sample ballot. They would be happy. Someone should be happy to accommodate you. I know I will be. If you need a sample ballot and you have email access, then I will e-blast you a sample ballot. That's Earnestine. My email address is edpittman26@bellsouth.net. It's been out there for almost 52 years. E. Pittman, E.D. Pittman, 26. No, that's not the one. It's my email address is edpittman26@bellsouth.net. You can call your city clerk where you live or stop by City Hall and ask about a sample ballot. Ask your friends. Join a neighborhood association. That's what they're for. They're to help you when you need it. But you need to start right now with putting your plan in place. Who's going to take me? How am I going to get to the polling place? Where is the polling place? What time are they open? When are they open? October the 14th through October the 31st. Are you going to send in a write-in ballot? Is that going to happen? What is your plan? If I were to call you up, say, now what you going to do about voting? You say, well, I plan to go with so and so and so. I go, I drive, I get a Uber, a call, and get a ride to the poll to vote. That's my transportation. I know my location. When I get there, and with my location, I am going to go in, take my sample ballot, I take my names on the list, and I am going to read through the ballot, make sure those referendums that I've been looking about, getting information all about, it's on there. And then I am going to vote for the person that I feel will best represent me. That's what you need to do. And if you don't have that, then you are undeserving to be a resident or a citizen in this country. You don't value your status as a free person in the United States of America now. And that is what is at stake. This coming Saturday, nationwide, we're looking to have at least 2,500 cities, small town, large town, street side, small, mall size participation. October the 18th, no King's Day. We don't have kings in this country. We have people of equal value and status in this country. And that is what we are fighting for. The Republicans in the House, the Republicans in the Senate, and convicted President Trump in the White House with his minions need to be sent a message. And you need to be part of sending that message that no, we don't want what you're selling. We don't want what you are doing. You need to stop and stop now. And you need to be encouraging to the Democrats who are out there working for us. If you have a donation, or if you can volunteer, then you need to do it. There are plenty of organizations that you can give to. ACLU, in the blue states, the attorney generals of those states. They are out there fighting for us. There are schools and colleges who are fighting for us. Now they're telling people at the airlines, you are having this video played by knowns saying that the Democrats is responsible for the shutdown. TSA workers in many airports, they said, no, we're not playing that. This is the Hatch Act. We can't become politically involved. We have air traffic controllers who are definitely overworked and worn out. They have not recouped their numbers since the last presidential Republican president put them out of office. Fired them. We have the NAACP out there working for us. You need to join. You need to they need volunteers. They need money. This, you have to cross party lines. Not all Republicans are demons. Not all Democrats are saints either, if any, except me. There are some Republicans and independents who are against this administration. When you go out there and stand and hold up your sign about what it is you don't like about Trump and what is going on in this country, then they're not looking at you, they're looking at what's written up there. And it's a shame, again, back to the air traffic controllers who have to call a 800 number to land and fly planes. Delta Airlines, here in Atlanta, the busiest airport in the world. Air traffic controllers, I don't want to be on a plane with one that's stressed out, that's coming to work sick, equipment goes down, then they have to try to fly manually by maps and things and all that they haven't used in I don't know when. We have a shortage of workers. No, it's not right, and it's dangerous. But does Trump care? No, he's not worried about flying. He gets on Air Force One and goes anywhere. And his minions, too. They are using our airlines like it's their own personal car in their driveway. We need to send that message to them. Treat our property with due respect and do not pass laws and defund what we have worked hard and all about in order to fund them and your political inclined friends. Before I go today, I want you to do two things. Please attend some protest on Saturday, October the 18th, for No King's Day. On October the 3rd, starting today through the 31st, early voting. November the 4th, the last day. Get a plane. Vote. We have to protect that with our life because that is what is on the chopping block now, and that is what Trump is working on changing. We have to fight against that. Please do that. Do it for yourself, for your family, for your children, for your friends. But most of all, do it because it is the right thing to do. It's not enough to be right. You have to do right. Thank you and have a great day.